Welcome to Heart of North Texas, a philanthropic podcast that celebrates the work of nonprofit organizations in the region. In each episode, we will bring you stories of compassion, resilience, and dedication from the people who are making a difference in the lives of others. This episode brought to you by Credit the Cause, the home of the infinite donation. Today's guest is Cathy Inman of the Little Souls at Rest Foundation. And now your host, Zoe Martin.
With me in studio today is my friend Cathy Inman with Little Souls at Rest. And I know the gist of how it was started, but many people in the audience have probably never even heard of Little Souls at Rest. And I'm just going to give a little preface to how we met, how you told me about it, because I volunteer with Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, which is an organization that honors babies and their families by photographing babies that aren't going home with their families.
Yep.
And so Cathy said, really, let me tell you about Little Souls at Rest. So like we were having that conversation that day, tell me what this organization is about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always preface my story with, it's not my story, right? It's one of my best friend's stories. We just talk about crying. I cry every time I tell this story because it is like it just happened yesterday. So my friend Jenna was pregnant. She was pregnant with her first son. So she has two babies in heaven already. She has two daughters here on earth with her now. And then she was pregnant with her son. And they, of course, waited, like most families do, to tell everybody that they were pregnant just in case.
Right.
And then she finally announced, and it's all excited, and Michael was coming. And I will never forget, it was the day before my birthday. In 2018, and I was sitting on the back porch with my husband, and I got the phone call. And she said, he's gone. He didn't make it. So she miscarried Michael, and that's when it just all hit the fan, right? The hospital couldn't help her. He was not considered a baby. He was under 20 weeks, which means he was product of gestation. She was insistent that she wanted to bury him. He was perfect in every way, except for he just didn't have enough time to develop. So they had to, instead of spending the time with Michael and saying goodbye, they had to sit on Google and figure out how to get someone to understand that he was a baby, pick him up and take him to a funeral home, and allow them to bury him. And so they did. To make a long story short, this gentleman called her back after multiple phone calls, and he was with a funeral home, and he said, I've been thinking about what you asked of me, and we're going to come pick him up. And so they picked up Michael and made it possible for Jenna and Alfred to bury him. And so I will never forget. I just said, how do we never let this happen again? And so a year later in 2019, really all we did was come up with the process. We came up with Little Souls at Rest Foundation and made a process to make it where families can bury their babies under 20 weeks, if they have a loss under 20 weeks. We purchased a crypt here in Dallas. We also have a cemetery partner that allows for in-ground burials if a family wants that. And in the 5 years that we've been around, we've now buried in about 19 states.
Wow.
And we don't own the crypt or the place where those babies are buried, but we have stepped in and fought for those families to help them find a place in their local area.
Oh, my heart. I remember the first time you told me about it, and I thought, how many families prior to Little Souls at Rest, they had nothing. And people, I know it's hard to understand if you haven't experienced that kind of a loss. I haven't personally, but knowing these families, the tangible items are non-existent. No. You're going home with an empty car seat. Yep. You're going home to the pre-planned nursery and the shower gifts and different things that all this preparation to be so heartbroken and then to be told that your baby is not a baby.
Yeah.
And I was floored when you shared this with me, because I've been a Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep volunteer for 8-9 years, and I didn't know until you told me the situation and the struggle for your friend. I also think it's precious that it was your friend. It wasn't you.
Right.
I mean, together you were like, this isn't going to continue. With Little Souls at Rest, you said 19 states already. It's based here in the Dallas area.
Yep.
How do you partner or get connected? Like, how do people find out about Little Souls at Rest?
Yep. In 2020, Jenna moved. Her husband had a job move. So she is now based out of kind of over toward Orlando. So she's in Florida. So I now run the Dallas area. And we do everything just with a phone call. So if someone hears about us, we're on several podcasts. People have written articles about Jenna and the story. A lot of it is friends of friends, right? You have a loss and you immediately do exactly what she did. You get on Google, or you ask your friends, or you ask somebody and they're like, have you heard of Little Souls? We get that all the time. And so sometimes it's an area. We find that a lot, where if somebody hears about us, all of a sudden everybody hears about us. Or we have a nurse that's finally heard of us, and they share because they're in that scenario a lot. And we've actually had a lot of nurses reach out to us and say, thank you. Thank you for giving us an answer to the families, right? Because, and it depends. I won't say, that all hospitals and all areas don't have an answer for families. There are some hospitals that have some answers, that maybe they do on-site cremations. I've heard different scenarios in different places. But, our first thing is, it was the loss at home or in the hospital. If it was in the hospital, we need to get to that family very quickly sometimes, so that we have a chance to get to the remains. Yes. So I think it's just word of mouth, really, and just, again, hearing about us or searching for us and searching for an answer, because we're one of the first things that pops up in that scenario.
That reminds me, with Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, sometimes, obviously, families are going through the grieving process, and there's so many emotions that are involved, and who's going to come visit the family and that kind of thing. There's just a lot that happens in a very brief amount of time. And sometimes the family is there not even an entire day. Yep. But as a photographer going in, sometimes we had to wait. Like, no one was available at the time the family was hoping someone would come. And so we would ask the hospital if the baby could be put in a cuddle cot. Yep. And that's another opportunity to help preserve baby until the time comes. But not all hospitals have that resource, which, if you're unfamiliar with the cuddle cot audience, the cuddle cot is a bassinet that has a cooling unit. And so the baby is able to stay in that cuddle cot and for lack of a better term, be cool.
Yeah, be preserved. And so that way the photography works out better, and the family's able to spend some more time. Like you said, maybe there's somebody that needs to get there, right? This was probably unplanned.
Right.
So you were not expecting to have your baby that day. So you want someone to, husbands, grandparents, somebody wants to come say goodbye. It just elongates that time. Yeah. And we have, as you know, this incredible network of different nonprofits that all are in that same space. Sometimes people contact us that have a loss after 20 weeks. We have another nonprofit that we work with. The nonprofit that supplies our we have little caskets and, urns, that there's another nonprofit that supplies those. I mean, it's something where, like you, it did not happen to me. And until you have it happen, or you have a loved one that it happens to, right? I mean, if you figure 1 in 4 pregnancies end in miscarriage, we all know someone, right? Whether it was your parent, your sister, your friend, whatever, that need to know that these resources are out there.
Right. And I appreciate you bringing up the fact that there are resources. It's not just one organization. There are so many different opportunities for families to be connected, whether that's grief counseling, whether that's support groups. There's Hope Mommies. There's so many different opportunities for families to reach out and to to not suffer in silence. I think there's celebrities, and that when they come out with their loss, then it becomes all the rage for people to be like, oh my goodness, so, you know, but reality, like you said, 1 in 4.
Yeah.
Which is heartbreaking.
Well, and I think one of the stories that sticks with me, because if there's a loss here in Dallas and it's somebody who's burying at our crypt, I try and go and attend with the family. And I think one of the stories that I will never forget, because it really just hit my heart, was so when we open the crypt, they can have any service that they want, or it can just be the family or whatever they want to do. It's totally up to them. It's their time. And so I was standing kind of in the back, and I'm always standing there with my little box of tissues, and I'm just there for whatever they need. Do they want me to take pictures? Do they just, do they not need me at all? Do I, just making sure everything goes well. And this grandparent stepped back with me. And so the parents were up at the crypt, and they were talking and, of course, crying. And she steps back with me and she says, I had such high hopes. I just had such a vision for that baby. And it really kicked in, and my heart just ripple effect. Like, it's not even just the parents, right? This is your family history, and you're looking at a link that that link didn't happen, right? And the other thing is watching like littles, right? So you got we had a family one time that I think this little girl was maybe 2 or 3, and the little casket, I mean, they're tiny. They're, 3 inches by 3 inches maybe. And she said, can she put stickers on? I was like, absolutely. So they had brought all these little hearts and butterflies and everything. And the little girl the whole time was just putting little stickers on the box. And I was just like, will she even remember? Like, it was so sweet. Mm-hmm. And you just like, and so all the little caskets go up together in the crypt. It's one big, huge, like a people crypt, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's all the little caskets are up there together. And I always tell the parents that, to me, it's just like so comforting that they're all together.
Yeah.
All
the little angels.
All the little angels.
Oh my goodness.
There's so many stories. I actually just got texted a picture this week. And unfortunately, this is a family we couldn't help because we didn't get to the baby in time. Mm. And they have sweet pictures. Of course, I didn't know about the pictures until you mentioned. I had no idea people went and volunteered to do that, which is just so, I mean, what a gift.
Well, and there's 80 hospitals in DFW alone. So to know that we can't get to everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
again, you need more volunteers.
Right.
I mean, talk about a mission.
Well, and speaking of volunteers, with Little Souls at Rest, do you need volunteers? How can people get involved and connected with your organization?
Yeah, 100%. If it is their passion, and we had somebody who's like, I would love to just be the representative in this state, in this area, in this city, whatever. So what we do I don't think I even answered your question earlier. So if we have a loss out of state and it's somewhere that we've never been, we just start making phone calls to local funeral homes, to places that we think might be able to help us, find us some connections. If that person, is religious, we'll reach out to their religious places of worship in that area, whatever it is that we need to find that person. And we tell our story 100 times if we have to, because what we don't want is the family to have to fight for this. And we've had families that will call us and say, like, we have somebody that will help us, but the funeral home wants to charge us $5,000.
Oh my goodness.
To bury something that's minuscule, and we're like, we got you. And so if nothing else, we'll help you get the baby from the hospital. We've only had one state so far that wouldn't work with us on that. Mm. And we will help you find, at least, if we can't get you for free, which is always our goal, we will find you the best deal in your area that we can find and work with. And then once we work with somebody, we find that they love our mission, want to help us, want to work with us, and then they continue to be a partner.
And now that you mentioned that, I'm curious, who are you looking for partners? Like, if there was someone that said, oh, I know a friend who owns a funeral, or...
Always, anytime, certainly. You know, if somebody believes in that mission of just wanting to have, that's how we found the funeral home that's out in Pilot Point, is we were speaking to the director there, and she just said, we're going to make a baby area for you. And there is literally a baby area made for Little Souls.
I love that.
And all the headstones go in the ground. And so, that one, it costs a little bit more, but if that's important to you for personal or religious reasons, we have that option. And I love to be able to say, yes, we have that option, because a lot of times it's really about that. It's about what's going to make the healing process start for that family, right? And it's different for everybody. And to your point, sometimes you answer the phone and somebody's crying. Sometimes you answer the phone, somebody's screaming. Sometimes you answer the phone and there's silence until they can catch their breath and actually say the words.
Yeah.
And you don't know who you're talking to. Is it the dad? Is it the mom? Is it a sister? Is it, And it's really just giving them the space to say, like, the worst thing that I could think of just happened. And you're like, I get it. Let's move forward. How can we help you? And that's what Jenna's taught me. That's what she's so good at that. She's so good at that.
Wow. I went on the website after we talked, like that day. I went home and was like, Little Souls at Rest, what is this? And so I knew that at that time Jenna had already moved. Is there a location, like a state location on the website now? No. So if anyone across the nation needs these services, there's a phone number.
There's a phone number. You're actually calling her. You're calling Jenna. I mean, she will answer the phone or she will get right back to you. We've helped. We've had military babies born in Hawaii brought back to the States. We've coordinated so many things that we never had on our plate. We never had this vision, right? It was just like, how can we help babies in Dallas? Then it was, okay, well, maybe we'll do Dallas and Florida because that's where we are. And then it was like, wait, we're getting these phone calls from all kinds of places and we're somehow making this happen. And I mean, we are a small but mighty team. It is just us, my husband, her husband, and we just keep finding like just so many blessings for our families. And we just keep moving forward. And we're just like, oh, we hadn't thought about that. Let's do that.
That's so wonderful. I love that you're this small little group of people, but you saw a need and you filled that need. And one of the things that Frito loved about people who were in a position like yours is that you didn't wait, you didn't put it off, you created a way for other people to have what you were able to get or what Jenna was able to get for her baby Michael.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably, I don't know, fundraisers or opportunities. How can people, what would you like them to know about anything that I haven't already asked?
Yeah, no, like I said, we literally sometimes we'll get together and we'll just be like, the bank account's at this, and we're like, man, we really need that. And all of a sudden it just, we are so blessed by the people that have worked with us or that know about us or that believe in our mission or have brought us to their companies and the company match and all kinds of things. We had a big fundraiser last year. My husband biked the Natchez Trace 444 miles on a bike, just to raise awareness. We had a great fundraiser last year. Again, we're just really grassroots. It's just kind of like if people bring an idea to us, that's great. If people just have, a donation, or a lot of times what it is somebody will donate for a family. So they're like, hey, what does it need? Like, pay it forward. Like, what does it take to pay for the next family? So we do that a lot.
I love that.
So we're really just very, when it, God knocks on the door, we just answered.
The Heart of North Texas is sponsored in part by Credit the Cause, a payment processing company that donates 40% of gross revenue to a charity of the business's choosing, turning the cost of doing business into purposeful giving. Visit creditthecause.com, the home of the infinite donation. And now, back to the Heart of North Texas with Zoe Martin.
Other people that are hearing your story and thinking, oh, I have something that I've wanted to start. I don't know where to start. I don't know who to talk to. Is there any advice that you could share for someone that wants to start something?
Yeah, we get that question a lot. We literally found an attorney, again, told our story. He, of course, had a family member that had a loss. I think a lot of it is, you know that you're in the right place when you reach out for help and people see your vision immediately. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to explain it any further. They just say, how can I help you? And so we had this wonderful attorney, and he helped us put all the paperwork together. And I think really it's also finding people that believe in you, even if they can't put a lot of time or money or effort into it, and surrounding yourself so that when you do have those days where a hospital won't work with you or a state won't work with you or this person, refuses to listen or whatever, that you can call that the people that believe in you and just go they're going to cheer you on to keep going, right? Because there are so many missions. There are so many people out there. And I think I will pause with that thought and also say, because of now having done this for 5 years, is sometimes your mission is already out there and that nonprofit just needs you to help it. It's not always about being the people that founded it. Right? And I hear that a lot because it's not cheap. It's not free. It's not always easy.
Yep.
So if your vision is something that you're like, I can't get past this. I want to do something, but I can't right now. Find the group that's already doing it and help them.
Man, I'm glad you said that.
Right?
I love that because unbeknownst to many people, there are over 60,000 nonprofits in the Dallas-Fort Worth area alone.
That just gave me goosebumps.
And the problem with that is that donors experience giver fatigue.
Yep.
Because there's so many great nonprofits, but a lot of them, if they would just join forces, or again, somebody doesn't start something new, but finds something that's relatable that they can volunteer with, they can spread the mission. How powerful would that be?
Right? I mean, that's the whole point, is just pull your network together, just like we did, right? We were like, hey, you network here, I network here. These are very similar. How can we both spread the word on this thing?
Right.
And I mean, that's where, the minute you and I connected and started talking about that, I was like, your heart is just 1,000 times bigger than anyone can visually see because of what you're trying to put together here. And the mission of letting people know, not just like, hey, these nonprofits need help. No, they exist for you, the people of North Texas or wherever. Some people do just help locally, but the people that help, statewide or nationally. But the fact that you're able to help us get that word out, that's what's important to the nonprofit. It is important for fundraising and all the other things, but to us, we're not paid. We're all volunteer. Like 97 cents of our dollar goes straight back to our families. I don't know what it is, something ridiculous like that. And we're just here to serve the people, Yeah. That's what and I think that's where most people that start a nonprofit are.
Yeah.
Right?
It's heart work.
It is.
Right? It's not like you're in it. One of the things that several people have brought to me, what is the purpose behind this podcast? Why are you starting the Heart of North Texas podcast? And I'm like, it's not, I want people to truly understand where they can plug into to give back to the community.
Yeah.
That Frito and I would have this conversation, like if people understood how that fills you with purpose, right? If you know where you align, because it may be Little Souls at Rest, it may not be.
Absolutely.
It may be something that's a nonprofit for pets or for seniors, whatever makes your heart sing, find that. And we hope that they find it on the podcast.
Yeah, and that's what we need, right? We need people that love all the things and all the people. So that, because one person can't help everybody.
No.
But together, what you're doing is like gathering all the people together. That's where the energy goes.
Yeah.
And then the energy just keeps rippling out. And then the people in the cities get to feel that. And the people who need us get to feel that. And people go, wow, I didn't even know that existed. Right? Exactly the same thing as when I heard about your photography.
Well, there's something I haven't asked any of the previous guests. And so it just came to me when I was asking about fundraising, and I know that there's times that the bank account gets kind of low. With one of the reasons that I went to Frito to begin with is because I have a giving circle caring for Collin County. And the idea is we get 100 people together, whether they're business owners, whether they're businesses or individuals, and each of them donate $100 collectively 4 times a year to donate
cool.
$10,000
Wow.
to a nonprofit. What could you all do with $10,000? That's shooting for the stars, right?
Yeah, that's a huge budget for us. I can tell you that would be life changing. I mean, that's 2 crypts in a different city. Actually, what we're fundraising for right now, the thing that we keep going for, and then we keep putting on the side because we want to help the families, is we really want I can't think of what it's called now. The plaque. We don't have a plaque on our crypt. It's empty. So we know where it is. But every time we put the money aside to buy it's not cheap. We're like, we really need that money for a family. Because we try, if we can, we try to make it as reasonable as possible for somebody to bury. Yeah, that would be, it just would be life-changing for Little Souls at Rest. That would be a huge budget for us that we've probably never had.
That would be definitely, once Caring for Collin County gets off the ground and we have our 100 donors and we have the $10,000, I haven't decided for sure how we're going to go about. I know how we did it in Longview. I was part of 100 Women of Longview Who Care. But I definitely, there will be some nonprofits that tug at my heart more than others. And since I'm overseeing it, I do get the opportunity to have a little say in that. But out of curiosity, what is the dollar amount for that plaque?
The last time, because every time we've called them, unfortunately, because of vendors and issues and all that stuff, I think it was around $1,800. I could be wrong, but it was around $1,800.
And that sounds like a drop in the bucket to $10,000. But I'm telling you, there's a good possibility that someone on this podcast is connected with a graphic or company that does products that could create that for you. And so I want to make sure that people know, if they have a connection, that I feel is a need. It's a very special need.
It's a special need because the families, they know where it is if they've come obviously to the cemetery, but to come back and not, we're like, oh, just you count so many in and so many up, we're on the top. But I want that plaque there. We have it designed. We have it ready to go. We just keep going like, it's more important to open the crypt and bury a baby. It's more important to open the crypt and bury a baby because we do have to pay for it every time we open it, which is very unique. And our cemetery is absolutely fantastic with us to work with something very different than they would normally do. So we thank them for that. But yeah, I want to have that plaque up there so that people can see that that's where the babies are.
I want you to too.
Yeah.
And when that happens, because of the Heart of North Texas podcast, we're going to post about it. And I want a picture that we can put up and show people that we're making a difference.
100%.
Oh my goodness. Huge. Stop crying. You're going to make me cry again, Cathy.
That would be
one last
huge
thing before we sign off. You mentioned that there's a cemetery in Pilot Point. I would like to have them mentioned by name because I feel like that is a huge blessing to people. And I want them to know that cemetery. Are you allowed to say it?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. I'm not sure. I'll send it to you if I'm allowed to say it.
If you're allowed to say it,
I'm not sure.
I would like to tag them in the show notes.
Yeah, it's a family cemetery, and I'm not sure if they want the notoriety. Okay.
I would love to.
They're fantastic.
I would love to shout them out if they would be okay with that.
Okay.
All right.
I will ask them. Yeah, no, everyone that we've worked with has been, like I said, once they hear the story, and I'm telling you, Jenna, she's that little Energizer bunny, man. If she's fighting for you and your family, she's going to win.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And that's really all we want to do is a win for the family. Because I think it, and she's going to hate that I say this because I'm the squishy one and she's not, but I think it patches her heart one little stitch at a time that she's able to win for a family.
Wow.
So
a little patchwork heart. Mm-hmm. Okay, we need to get off of here because I could listen to the organization and how we could help, but thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for being a part of the success of the Heart of North Texas podcast. This episode was brought to you by Credit the Cause, home of the infinite donation. Please check our show notes for contact information for the program, our guests, and our sponsors, and please tag us on your social media. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.